Okay, so this is the second part of the video and we are walking through the instructions. So if you're starting with this video, you should watch the previous one. So we have the credit and we are on instruction number 4. We have credit. We're going to put down payment here, and then we have the APR, and this is annual percentage rate, and you're told to put this information in A14. So A14, that's right there. And basically we have that from A14 to C14. C14 right there. I can tell that from the name box. Type the 4 credit rating. So you can see that you can see all the information here. Usually you want to come and back and do the formatting. You're told to format all that. So you come in here and you are the one who's going to choose the type of credit that your customers have. So I'm just going to use simple value here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now you can have excellent, good, fair, poor, or any other value. Now when you're doing the assignment, don't give me these values. Be more creative than here. And then the down payment, if somebody has a credit rating of 1, which I'm considering is going to be the best for my case, I want them to just give me a 5% discount. So you put a 5% there, and then you can have 10%, and then you have 15%, and then you have 20% of the down payment. So this information is coming from, where is that? From here, the down payments. And then the APR, I'm going to use the same values for the APR, but I'll expect you to use more realistic values. Okay, so APR is the annual percentage rate. So this is the interest rate that companies will give you. So do a little bit of research and find out somebody with a very good rating, what's going to be the interest rate that a car dealership will give them. Okay, so maybe 4%, maybe 3%, 6%, something like that. And somebody with not a so good credit rating, maybe they'll be required to put a 20% down payment and then maybe have an APR of 20% or 25% or whatever rate. So be a little bit more creative. Okay, so that's where we are. So we have here next, format the percentage. So okay, you will come back and format them, so you can highlight that, and if you want to maximize that, so the formatting, make sure you're at the home tab and you're doing it from here. You can center that, or you want to make them bold, whatever. Formatting is for you to decorate it, make it the way you want it to appear. Okay, so we have that. And then the other item we're going to be looking at is APR. So type labels in the intermediate calculation and output in column E. So what is column E? That's my column E. So you can come here and start here and type, this is going to be intermediate calculations. So type that word here all the way the full. And then what you can do is, let's say that intermediate calculations and outputs. Okay, and then under here you can put the output because you're going to be doing some calculations. So you're creating some variable names and you're going to be putting the information, and we'll go through that in a few seconds. Okay, so enter formulas in the intermediate calculations and output sections to calculate the following. So now we start the computation. Now you see, you can see all these. Sometimes you might want to just do that, and remember to type everything in full. Output, same thing here. Okay, so we have that, enter the formula. So under the intermediate calculations, we are going to enter the formulas here, and then here we are going to have some outputs, and we are going to be using some of the computations to help us with computing the values. Okay, so let's assume that down here, this was I think the credit rating. Credit rating is good, so we need to change this value to actually 1 to correspond with this value here, and I'll show you why I did that. So if you had the word good, then you can have excellent, good, fair, whatever. So I'm gonna change that to 1 because I'm using 1. Date of the first payment, you can enter any date there, and just for the sake of argument, I'm gonna use 29 2020, like that. And you see that if you see that we have mentioned, that means that there's not enough space, so you come between here, double click, and boom. Or you can simply just adjust, bring the mouse pointer here, hold it down, and then you adjust it like that so you can see everything. Okay, so we have intermediate and we have the calculations, and we are told APR. So enter the formula in the intermediate calculations and output sections to calculate the following. Okay, APR. So we're going to have under here, we are told to put the APR, these values here. And then we have the minimum deposit required, And then from the instruction, we are told to pull the sales tax. Okay, so the sales tax, or actually, I'm sorry, this should be up here. This value should be right here based on the instructions. So just copy that and put them up there. Okay, so we have that. So this is the intermediate calculations. And then under the output, we are going to have total down payment. So I'm going to use total down payment. And then I have total down payment, this value here. And then the amount of the loan, and you can type that in full. And then you have the monthly payment. Then you have monthly payment. Like that. Okay, so I'm not putting this in full because it's supposed to be doing this. So I'm just showing you how to go about doing this. Okay, so this is intermediate calculations and these are the outputs, and you're going to be doing formatting. You want to make sure that you format these cells in such a way that you're going to know that these are labels. So some people may decide to do something like this. This is the input. You want to do that. You might want to do something like that. So be more specific, but I'll leave that for you to decide how to go about doing it. Okay, and so we have right here, we can also add another one for the monthly, I think this monthly state tax. Okay, so because you're going to be making the payment, then you have the total monthly payment. Okay, so, and I'm not being very specific because I want you to do the assignment, and I hope at least I'm providing some guidelines of how to go about working on it. So we have the APR, we have the minimum down payment required, we have the sales tax, and then we have to down payment, blah blah blah, and then we added these two. So these two we added here, monthly tax and then total monthly payment. Okay, so APR, you're going to be computing this value, APR, based on the credit rating. Based on the credit rating, use a lookup function that references the borrower's credit rating and the table array in the range. Include the range lookup argument to ensure that exact match. Okay, so basically what you're supposed to be doing is in the intermediate calculations, we are going to compute the value of the APR. So this customer, he's going to buy a car that is worth $35,000. He's going to put a down payment of $15,000. He'll start paying on this date. His credit rating is very good. So we want to determine his APR. We have a table here that we have set, okay, that is showing us if a customer has a credit rating of 1, then their APR is 5%. If they have a credit rating of 2, then their APR is that. If they have a 3, blah, 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 and on like that. Same thing for down payment. So we are going to be computing for this customer who has an credit rating of 1, their APR. And what we are told to do is to use the lookup table. If we were doing this manually, all what we'll do is we'll come in here and we look at our customer and we say his credit rating is 1. We come to this table and we say credit rating is 1, so he should get a down payment of what? Of an APR of 5%, because this is column 1, column 2, column 3, 5%. If this value was 3, then we'll come to this table and you say credit rating of 3, move to the right under the APR 15%. But we're using the lookup function. So let's see how we go about doing that. So I'm going to maximize this so you can have the full idea. This is where we want to put the value of the APR. We want this 5% value here, but sometimes you have a very big table, you can afford to do it manually. So usually what you want to do is you'll come to formulas, and then under the function library, you want to go to the lookup and reference, and you want to scroll all the way down until you come to the VLOOKUP. So VLOOKUP is for the values that are structured like the way the tables are. You see, vertical. Sometimes we have a H lookup, whereby the values are going to be structured horizontally. But in this case, you're using the VLOOKUP. So you click on the VLOOKUP and you have this function argument. So under the lookup value, this is the value that you're interested in. So you click that cell. Now this is what you're calling cell reference. Okay, cell reference C7. Click in here and then you specify the table. You want to highlight all those values because that's the table. You have the table array and then the column index. Basically what you're saying is you pick this value, come to this table, find 1. When you find 1, move 3 columns the right, column 1, column 2, column 3. So we specify that we want the value in column 3, and then we want to make sure that we return the actual value. So sometimes you have values that are close to each other. You want to make sure that you return the actual value, and you can see by default the system tells us that's going to be the value that you're interested in, which is this value over here, 5%. So you click OK, and you have that value. Okay, if you want to see it as a percentage, you can always come back here and you have that. So that is the first part for the APR. Minimum down payment required is a lookup, so we're going to do the same thing. If somebody has a credit rating of 1, they need a minimum down payment of 5%. So we'll come in here and do the same thing. We got the formulas under the lookup, and you go all the way to VLOOKUP. You specify the lookup value, credit rating of 1. The table is in here. We don't include the headings in the table, and then you can or you don't have to. And then we need the value now in the second column. So the second column right here is 2. Okay, and then we want to return the actual value. Okay, so we save 4, so it's giving us 5% because my values are 5%. Now remember, this is the percentage, but we are not interested in the percentage, we're interested in the value. So if somebody has a credit rating of 1, they have to put a down payment of 5%. So what we are going to do is, once we are done with this, before we click OK here, is advisable you come here in the formula bar and then click at the end, and then you append. Okay, you type times, which is for multiplication, and you want to multiply that by what? By this value over here. That's the price of the car. Okay, so you have 5%. All this portion here represents the 5%. You multiply that by what? By this value, and that's how you end up with 1750. Okay, you click OK, and you have that value. So let's see how we are doing on time. We got like 3 minutes, so I think we should be able to finish most of it. Then you have the sales tax. So the sales tax is going to be what? Is sales tax, you're told, is, did you get the value of the sales tax? Sales tax is supposed to be 5%. So right here, you can specify, actually it's going to be around here because you're going to merge these values. So you have sales tax is 5, and then you're going to pay this loan in 5 years, and you have 12 payments a year. Okay, so the sales tax is going to be equals to this cell reference here, and you're multiplying that by that. That's the sales tax. Okay, now this actually is not very correct, because when you have down payments, you should not be paying sales tax based on the original value. It should be based on the value that you have already subtracted the sales tax. So I want you to correct that when you're working on the equation, and make sure that you're giving me the actual value of the sales tax. Okay, so we have finished that, and now we have to move to the total down payment. So the total down payment in here is going to be what? This is the down payment plus what? Minimum down payment right there. You have that, and then the amount of the loan that is going to be financing is going to be this value minus this value. Okay, now to get the monthly payment, you're going to be using the PMT function. So you'll come in here and you're going to go to the formulas, and this is going to be under the financial, and you want to look for the PMT like that, and then you want to specify, so the rate, the APR, but this is for the whole year. So we want to divide that by 12, because it's going to be making 12 payments a year. So you can divide that by 12, but the best thing is to use the cell reference. So you want to do that, because you can change and say you don't want to be making 12 payments a year. You want to be doing maybe 6 payments a year, or you want to be doing 15 payments a year. So that's going to change. Now, NPR is the number of payments for the period. So it's 5 years, and you're making what? 12 payments a year. So that's going to give you 60. Okay. Present value is the present value of the loan. Okay. So this is the amount that he's financing, not this. He's financing this, because we did some subtractions. And then the future value, that should be 0. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that for now. Okay. Now you want to make this to be negative value here, because that's money that is going out, so you can get a positive value over here, and you can play around with that and see what happens. Okay, now monthly tax, you want to make sure that you have, this is the sales tax for the whole time that he is going to be paying that loan. Okay, but this should be divided by this value multiplied by this value. Okay, and then you have that, and then the total payment is going to be this value plus this value, and you have that. And then what you have to do is now you have to go back to the Excel worksheet and then format, do all this, insert the footer, and then the save the file. So what I want you to do is, you see this tax, this monthly tax, we are basing the monthly tax on this value, but this monthly tax should actually be based